My husband promised to stand up to his mother. Instead, at our baby shower, he handed her the microphone and watched her announce, "I'm naming the baby after myself since I'm the real parent here." I laughed like it was a joke until he nodded and said, "It's only fair. She'll raise him anyway." I left in the middle of the cake cutting. 3 weeks later, they showed up at my door demanding custody papers. I'm Tara, 31, living in Plano, Texas. I used to believe if you married the right person, you'd be safe. That they would have your back against anything, even their family. I was wrong. Neil and I met when I was 26. He was easygoing, a little quiet, but he listened. After dating around so many cocky, selfish guys, Neil felt safe. He wasn't flashy. He had a steady IT job, loved working on old cars in his spare time, and treated me like I mattered. The first time I met his mom, Doreen, I thought it was just nerves making her cold. She barely looked at me. When she did, it was to comment on something passive-aggressive like, "Oh, you're one of those career girls, huh?" Neil told me she was hard to impress and not to take it personally. He promised that with time, she would come around. I believed him. Fast forward 4 years, we got married in a small ceremony in Allen, Texas, about 15 minutes from where we lived. Doreen showed up wearing white. I should have seen it then. I should have known. She sulked the entire wedding, left early without even saying goodbye. Neil was embarrassed, apologized over and over. I waved it off, not wanting to ruin the day. First mistake, I let it slide. When I got pregnant, everything got worse. At first, Doreen acted excited. Brought over gifts, clothes, toys, books. Too many gifts. Then she started crossing lines. She insisted on throwing her own grandma baby shower, separate from mine. She started referring to the baby as her boy, not our boy. She came over unannounced, criticizing the nursery I was decorating. "That paint color is depressing. I'll redo it when he stays at my house." I told Neil I was uncomfortable. He said, "I'll talk to her." He never did. The real blow came the day she showed up with a full nursery set, for her own home. She didn't ask. She just spent thousands of dollars without saying a word to us. When I tried to say we appreciated it but wouldn't need it, she smiled that tight, nasty smile and said, "Oh honey, you'll need the help. You won't be able to handle it." I cried that night. Hormones, maybe. Fear, definitely. Neil promised he would set boundaries. He swore it. Our baby shower was supposed to be a happy day. We rented the community center at Bob Woodruff Park. Invited friends, family, coworkers. I was 34 weeks pregnant, huge, exhausted, but excited. It was the last happy thing before the chaos of newborn life started. We played games. Opened gifts. Ate sandwiches and cupcakes. Toward the end, Neil said he wanted to make a toast. I thought it was sweet. He walked up front with the mic. Instead of speaking, he handed the microphone to Doreen. I froze. She grabbed it like a queen taking her throne and announced, "Since I'm going to be raising him anyway, I've decided to name him after myself." The room was silent. Then a few polite laughs. People thought it was a joke. I laughed too. Weak, shaky. Waiting for Neil to say something. He didn't. He smiled and nodded like he agreed with her. Then he said, "It's only fair. She'll be raising him anyway." I stood up. I didn't plan it. I just knew I had to get out of there before I started screaming. I grabbed my purse and walked out. Past the shocked faces. Past the decorations we'd picked out together. Past the cake I never even got to taste. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely unlock the car. I drove to my sister's house and sobbed so hard I thought I would pass out. Neil didn't come after me. He didn't call. Nothing. 3 days later, Neil texted, "You're overreacting. You're emotional." Come home and stop making a scene. I stayed at my sister's. I thought about everything. How many times I'd made excuses for him. How many promises he'd broken. I realized something: if he wouldn't stand up to his mother now, he never would. I started making plans. 3 weeks later, I was still at my sister's place when they showed up. Neil and Doreen. Both smiling. Neil was holding a manila folder. "We're here for the custody agreement," Doreen said like it was normal. I blinked. "Custody?" Neil said, "It's better this way. Less stressful for you. Mom's house is more stable. Bigger backyard, better neighborhood." I slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. I locked every bolt. I called a lawyer that night. It got ugly. Neil filed for full custody, claiming I was emotionally unstable and unfit because I had stayed at my sister's house and abandoned my home. Doreen submitted affidavits saying she had serious concerns about my ability to parent. They lied. They twisted everything. But I had receipts. Text messages. Voicemails. Photos. Posts Doreen made on Facebook bragging about getting her baby. My lawyer ripped them to shreds. During the hearing, Doreen spoke like she was the real mother. She said, "Tara doesn't have the experience. She won't know how to raise him. I'm just stepping in for the child's well-being." When the judge asked if she had legal guardianship rights, she said, "Not yet, but we're working on it." The judge's face was stone cold. Neil sat there, sweating through his cheap suit. The court ruled in my favor. Full custody to me. Supervised visitation for Neil once a month at a local facility. 0 rights for Doreen. It's just me and my son now. His name is Miles. Not Doreen. Not even close. He's my whole world. As for Neil and Doreen, they get to watch from the sidelines. They made their choice. And I made mine. You'd think after losing in court, Neil and Doreen would back off. You'd think they would feel shame. But no. Instead, they doubled down. About 2 weeks after the final custody ruling, I started noticing strange cars parked near my sister's house. Same 2 different cars, switching places. Always sitting across the street for hours. At first, I thought it was just random. But then one day, when I was putting Miles in his car seat, I noticed a man sitting in the driver's seat snapping pictures. I called the cops. They said they couldn't do much unless the man trespassed or threatened me. The next day, I got a letter in the mail. A notice from Child Protective Services. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint against me. Allegations: neglect, unsafe living conditions, emotional instability. I felt sick. When CPS showed up, they were polite but serious. They asked to inspect the house. They checked the fridge, the baby's room, my mental state. Thank God I had nothing to hide. I kept everything spotless. Miles was healthy, smiling, hitting all his milestones. After 2 weeks, the investigation was closed, unfounded. Still, I knew who had sent them. Neil. Or Doreen. Probably both. I called my lawyer. He said it was a scare tactic. They were trying to rattle me. Trying to find anything they could to file for an emergency hearing. He advised me to document everything. So I did. Every time a strange car lingered. Every time I got hang-up calls in the middle of the night. Every fake profile that sent me messages like, "You're a bad mom. He deserves better." I kept screenshots, police reports, everything. Then one afternoon, I was picking up groceries when my phone buzzed. It was a coworker from the dental office. "Hey, Tara, are you okay?" I heard something weird. Apparently, someone had called my boss and told her I was unstable, struggling with postpartum depression, and a danger to patients. I could barely breathe. I raced back to the office. Luckily, my boss knew me. She didn't believe the anonymous caller. But she warned me, watch your back. Someone's trying to ruin you. A week later, Doreen showed up at my sister's house again. This time, she didn't come alone. She brought a priest. I opened the door to see her standing there smugly, holding a Bible, with this poor priest looking confused and uncomfortable. "We're here for a blessing," she said, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Your child is in danger under your roof. God told me so." I slammed the door in her face. Again. Filed another police report. Filed for a restraining order. Started looking for my own house because I didn't want to put my sister through this anymore. Not apologies. Not regret. No, he texted me threats. "You'll be sorry. I'll take him from you one way or another. You can't keep him forever." My lawyer filed to have his supervised visits suspended until he could explain himself in front of a judge again. I stayed strong for my son. But inside, I was scared all the time. Checking locks. Watching windows. Waking up in the middle of the night to double-check the front door. Living like a prisoner because two bitter, evil people couldn't accept that I said no. Just when I thought I had fought off the worst of it, something else happened. Something I never saw coming. Yep. The one person I thought was solid, who let me stay in her home, who said she'd protect me, she turned. It started small. Little comments here and there. "Maybe you're being too aggressive, Tara. Maybe you should let Neil see the baby more. He is the father. Maybe Doreen's just overexcited. She's a grandma after all." At first, I brushed it off. I thought she was tired. She had her own family to take care of. But then I noticed her spending long phone calls in her bedroom, her voice hushed. She started acting weird around me, nervous, jumpy. Miles would cry, and she'd flinch like it annoyed her. One night, after putting Miles to bed, I came downstairs and heard her talking. I stopped halfway down the stairs when I heard the words, "She's exhausted. She's overwhelmed. If we play this right, we could get shared custody and take the pressure off her." I froze. My own sister. Talking to Neil. Plotting behind my back. I didn't confront her that night. I packed my things, packed Miles' things, and left before sunrise. I left her a note, "I heard everything. We're done." I moved into a cheap 2-bedroom apartment across town. Far from everyone I used to know. It wasn't much, just a beat-up place with old carpets and thin walls, but it was mine. It was safe. 2 weeks after moving out, I got served. A petition for joint custody. Filed by Neil with my sister's written support. In her affidavit, she wrote that I was isolating myself, unwilling to let the child have a full family, and that joint custody would serve the child's best interests. Reading her statement felt like swallowing glass. This time, it wasn't just Neil and Doreen. It was my own blood against me. Neil's lawyer tried to paint me as paranoid, unstable, irrationally hostile toward family. He even called my sister as a witness. I sat in that courtroom, stone-faced, while she said under oath that she feared for Miles' social development because I was too isolated. She didn't even look at me once. But I fought. I showed documentation. I presented the CPS report clearing me. I showed texts from Neil threatening me. I showed records of Doreen's stalking, fake reports, harassment. My lawyer was a bulldog. He ripped their side apart piece by piece. After weeks of hearings and interviews, the judge ruled again in my favor. No joint custody. Supervised visits only. My sister cried when the verdict came down. Neil glared at me like he could kill me. Doreen wasn't even allowed in the courtroom anymore because of a restraining order we filed after she tried to accidentally bump into me at a park. I walked out of that courthouse holding Miles tight against my chest. I was tired. So tired. But I was undefeated. After that second court battle, I thought it was over. I thought they'd finally realize they couldn't touch me. But evil doesn't quit easy. About a month after the last hearing, I got a visit from my lawyer. He said Neil had filed one last emergency motion. He wanted Miles declared abandoned because I had moved apartments without notifying him fast enough. It was stupid. It was desperate. But the law is tricky sometimes, and technicalities can be dangerous. I was tired. I was broke from legal fees. I was scared all the time. But this time, I decided to end it for good. I went nuclear. I hired a private investigator. Expensive? Yes. Worth it? Every penny. In 6 weeks, he found, Neil had lied under oath about his finances. Doreen was using multiple fake names online to harass me, a violation of the restraining order. My sister had taken money from Doreen to help with legal costs, which was basically a bribe. I also got screenshots of Neil badmouthing the judge online, calling her corrupt, lazy, biased. It was enough. We brought everything to court. My lawyer presented it all: fraud, harassment, contempt of court, witness tampering. The judge's face turned red with rage. She threw the book at them. Full, permanent custody to me. No visitation rights for Neil, not even supervised. Doreen fined heavily and placed under probation for harassment. My sister charged with perjury and fined thousands. Neil was warned that if he contacted me or Miles again, he would face criminal charges. The judge told him to his face, "You are not a father. You are a coward hiding behind his mother." Neil tried to argue. Security had to escort him out. Neil moved out of state a month later. Doreen put her house up for sale. Word got around town about what she had done. Nobody wanted anything to do with her. My sister? We haven't spoken since. I heard her husband left her when he found out about the bribe. She called once. I didn't answer. I never will. Me? I'm still tired sometimes. Still healing. But every morning, I wake up to Miles smiling at me. Safe. Loved. Free. No Doreen. No Neil. No betrayal. Just me and my son. I made mistakes too. I stayed silent too long. I trusted promises instead of actions. I ignored red flags because I was scared to start over. But when it mattered most, I chose my son. I chose myself. And I would burn my whole life down again if that's what it took to protect him. No one will ever take him from me. Not while I'm breathing.